We are getting married in 3 hours and we both feel miserable about it. I'll start by saying my bride and I both completely love each other and cannot wait to share a last name, among many other things. We originally had the date planned for July, but things have been moved up much sooner than we expected. This is a very enmeshed family. Her mom has single-handedly ruined everything special about our wedding. Ever since the time of engagement, her mom had been constantly upset and throwing a fit about every decision we make. Examples. First, we got engaged too soon, then we didn't involve her enough, then we involved her too much. Then she says I don't stand up for myself enough, then she says I'm a control freak. She's upset about the timing of the wedding shower my family is having for my bride. She's upset they misspelled her name on the invitation by accident. She, yes, still talking about her mom, acts like the shower is for her. She's extremely upset that we live together in a house we just purchased. Everything goes back to, you're doing it wrong in God's eyes. Regardless of what you believe, if it's God you believe in, I would think He would want us happy and not completely miserable on our wedding day. Her mom can't see that at all. She doesn't know how to keep any opinions to herself, and because of it has ruined everything special about my engagement and my wedding. I don't know what to do. It feels just like another day. We are not dressing up, and I'm taking a lunch break from work to get married. We're going to the courthouse, and the whole thing should be done in like 15 minutes. We thought we could do this and in July have a ceremony for the family, but even that is ruined now. Her mom has canceled anything she has paid for and is leaving us out of the loop as if she is purposely trying to sabotage our future. Yikes, sounds like her mom is auditioning for the role of wedding crasher, but like instead of crashing the party, she's crashing the planning. Sucks to be family. Story 2. I've been married 29 years and both my mother and my wife's were psycho before and after the wedding. The biggest problem is that we got engaged 3 months after we met. Actually, I knew sooner that I was going to ask her, and she knew sooner that she would say yes. I stopped dating someone else when I met her. Both mothers thought we were crazy even though we were in our mid-20s. Clarity and normalcy came to us when we realized that nothing my wife or I did had any impact at all on how our mothers would respond. We could do the same exact thing 15 minutes apart and would get completely opposite reactions. Once you realize there's absolutely nothing you can do that will satisfy them, it gives you a little power to stay calm. The only people that you absolutely need to answer to is each other. The worst mistake of my marriage was trying to stride a line in the middle between my wife and mother. It wasn't that I was backing my mother, but rather that I wasn't backing my wife, and 15 years ago, it nearly cost me our marriage. Once I manned up and realized my obligation, we were able to salvage and strengthen our relationship. You can't satisfy people like this, so don't even try. Just enjoy each other and the decisions you make together. If they're wrong, the pain is shared by two, and if they're right, the pleasure is doubled. How's that for a Hallmark line? Sweet, so these guys got engaged after only 3 months? This is the kind of love at first sight story you only see in the movies. Now this is a story every couple with crazy in-laws should read though too. Story 3. A wedding is just a day. A marriage is a lifetime. Don't think of today as the day I'm getting myself married, because your opinion toward today is already tainted. Think of today as our wedding day because mom-in-law demands it, and just get through it so you can enjoy your afternoon with your new bride. In a couple of years, you'll look back on today as the first day of my real life, which only began when I married the woman I love, and the bad feelings and horrors of today will be something to chuckle over. And good luck with the in-laws. You're in for a wild ride there, I suspect. Remember, support each other first. You can't let mom-in-law rule your life, and you can't let your own parents rule your life anymore either. This is kind of a difficult concept for the parents to grasp. They were making all decisions for you for the first 18 years of your life, and they don't understand yet that you now have someone else to make decisions with, and they're no longer responsible for you. It's a tough transition for some people to make. After today, you and your wife should be making decisions jointly. You can accept advice from the former decision makers, parents, and in-laws, but remember, it is only advice now. In all things, support each other when push comes to shove, and it will come to that, believe me. You have to be your wife's biggest champion, and vice versa. Also, don't bottle things up, but don't get heated either. Screaming never works. Communication is key to maintaining a lifelong friendship, and talking things out is always worthwhile. And having said that, if you're getting more and more upset over something, it's probably worth stepping out and going for a walk to cool off a little sometimes too. Oh, yeah, and wear sunscreen. Story 4. You don't need us to give you a reason. You are getting married to the person you love. I mean, sure, it sucks that your mother in law is crazy. Sure, you're not able to have a big fancy day. None of that should take away from the fact that you are getting married to someone you love. Congrats. I hope you have a happy life together. I am getting married this summer and hope that my crazy family does not ruin the reception. My fiance has a non straight brother, or bi, I never really asked or cared, and I have some prejudiced uncles. Me and my fiance talked about this the other day as her brother is my groomsman and we told him to bring a date if he wants. Anyway, if anything is said, we have committed to me kissing the groomsman and my fiance kissing the bridesmaid. At the end of the day, even if things go bad at my wedding, I will still be with the lady I love, so that is pretty dandy. Congrats again and go buy some cake. Story 5. As someone who has had a wedding ruined and relationship ruined by an insane soon-to-be mother-in-law, I offer my heartfelt sympathies. But this is your wedding, and you are marrying a woman you love and who loves you in return. Do the short version today, that's fine. You are doing this for yourself and not for the psycho mom-in-law. I married my husband in my mom's living room with 10 people present. Our 3-month-old son was the best man, even had a tuxedo. It was so adorable. The wedding meant nothing to me. All that mattered was I was now joined with the best man I'd ever met, the father of my son, and the man that I loved. Love your wife? Let her love you. Who cares about your mom? About 13 or 14 years ago, I was dating a nice Jewish boy, and I thought we were happy together. He asked me to marry him, got me a nice big ring, and things I thought were going great. Mind you, throughout all of this, his mother hated my guts, and I knew this the whole time. When we first started dating, we actually had a joke that we would someday find out what was worse, Catholic grandmother guilt or Jewish mother guilt. It should be noted that Jewish mother guilt won in the end. When it came to planning the wedding, I wanted the nice and pretty one. I knew it wouldn't be big because neither of us were serious social butterflies, but I wanted the dress and the pretty flowers. My mother and I had found a nice place up in the Rocky Mountains. I lived in Denver. That was reasonably priced. My fiance and I picked a date and my mom put down a deposit for the place. It should be noted that right about here, our relationship started going downhill. It wasn't that we were fighting all the time, but my fiance suddenly had all these work trips that he was going on, and the times when he was home, he was distant. It was about 2 months later when my mom got a refund from the place we had reserved for the wedding. So she called them to find out what was going on, only to find that our reservation had been canceled. Because we were within some kind of window, my mom got a full refund, thank God. My mom calls me to find out why I canceled my wedding, and that was the first I'd heard of it. Turns out my soon-to-be mother-in-law had not only called the place, pretended to be my mother, and got our hold canceled, she had also introduced her son to a nice Jewish girl that would be more appropriate for him to date. So for the last 3 months of our relationship, when I was planning our wedding, he was stepping out. All those business trips were not trips, but hanging out with his new girlfriend. And he let his mom cancel the wedding without even telling me. Needless to say, we broke up and I moved out. And it was the best thing to happen to me because I'm sure I would have been horribly miserable having to deal with that woman for the rest of my life. I ended up meeting my husband, we got married, had a kid, not in that order, and his mom is a wonderful woman who I love with all my heart. Story 6. Someone mentioned not dealing with her directly and allowing your wife to put up with her. This is a bad idea. It will just mean that your wife will have to carry that burden alone. You will both be happier if you both have to deal with her. But also tell her that since she and you don't seem to see eye to eye on social and moral issues, she is only allowed to see her future grandchildren under the strict supervision of you and or your wife. You might find her changing her tune pretty quickly. When it comes to the wedding, which should be going on any minute now, congratulations. You found your soulmate and you got to be with her for the rest of your life. That should be good enough. I know we all want to have a beautiful wedding, but I have a good friend who was in a similar situation financially when he was married. It was very small and not a lot of fun, but they are 5 years in now and planning to hold the reception that they always wanted for their 10th anniversary. I suggest you both consider something like that. Story 7. This will likely be buried, but I was in a similar situation. I'm going to look like the bad guy, but I have no regrets. We moved out in March 1998, and we started getting calls and emails from the mother-in-law asking when we'd get married. By June, they were even offering to pay for the wedding if only we would get married, and here at that. My parents weren't well off at all, and they couldn't make the trip across the country. My in laws disliked my parents, and despite the fact that they were willing to pay for the wedding, they wouldn't pay for my parents to come here. Meanwhile, they were gearing up to invite about 200 people from their side of the family. So we basically said, no, and said that if they were making us get married, then we were getting married 2 weeks from then. Civil ceremony in the park, immediate family, and our friends only. They were not impressed, but went through with it. The wedding cost a grand total of $1,500, including the reception. We paid for my bouquet, my dress was a plain summer dress, and the rings, which totaled about $300. They were simple gold bands. What's funny is that my husband and I came home at about 9 p.m., looked at each other, and said, okay, we're married, and went to bed. We're celebrating our 14th anniversary on June 20th. And if you're enjoying the video so far, please don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. Story 8. I got married almost 6 months ago. My husband and I planned it in about 2 months. He'd gotten a really good job and we decided that we could take the leap. We'd been engaged for over 4 years at that point, just waiting for a little financial breathing room. When his mom caught wind, well, let's just say I spent most of that night drinking shots with a friend, livid that she was pissing on us. Then I remember that I don't like her much anyways, that it'd be a cold day in hell before she'd help with expenses and did what I wanted. My husband and I had an awesome, small wedding with about 50 guests. We spent a grand total, including my black wedding dress, of about $2,000. Once the day got there, it was all good. My mantra the whole time I planned my wedding was, why in the world would I throw a big party for people I don't really like anyways? So I threw a small, awesome party for myself, my husband, and our family and friends that weren't schmucks about it. Do what you want with it. It's yours and your wife's day. Don't let anyone take that away. So, a small, awesome wedding? Sounds like that's the way to go. Less drama and heck of a lot more fun. Story 9. I got married at 22. My wife was 21. Her parents were not, pleased, I suppose that is the nice way to say it. They cut off her school funding. I said we'd take out a loan. They didn't want a morning wedding and a lunch reception, so I told them it wasn't their decision. I said it was going to be dry and that we didn't need drinks to feel good about it. They weren't pleased. Her parents are divorced and remarried. Everyone had a problem with it, except me. I figured if we were old enough to get married, we were old enough to make our own decisions. I learned to say the following and eventually taught my wife, thank you for your input and ideas. We'll let you know what we decide. We don't make decisions quickly. We have a lot to discuss and think about. Thank you for your input. I'm sorry you feel that way. This might be the most important. I made it a point of pride to never ask for any help from her parents or mine. I picked up the tab every now and then, and if we went out for dinner. I even paid for her siblings sometimes if they were with us. I'd hand my credit card to the waiter when they were not looking so there wouldn't be a discussion about it at the table. After 6 years of this, I figured we'd be past it. But no, the subject of children came up, and because I was a man, I was the problem. I was holding my wife back in my MIL's eyes. We explained once, we had a list, sell the house and move into a new one, pay off the student loans with the profit from the house, buy a van. 1 year was our goal. The second time she brought it up at a family dinner, I said, we've explained what we're doing. I'm sorry you feel that way, but we won't go into this debt. We beat our goal by 4 months and started trying early in September, but didn't tell anyone. Come November and Thanksgiving dinner, it was noted with contempt that now that my list was complete, I would create a new list to keep from having children. I said, well, our van isn't running well, and then for the first time, my wife chimed in without missing a beat, and we really should have a house with a garage. My MIL was mad, furious even. Never going to have grandchildren, glory, no. It ruined dinner for everyone involved, awkward to say the least. Christmas dinner was no better, again talking down to me for holding back my wife's dream of children and my wife for not putting her foot down about it. In February, we became pregnant, and after about a week or two, stopped by to deliver the good news. MIL was excited. Then the story of how we'd been trying since September. I watched my mother-in-law as my wife told the story. MIL became very quiet. When my wife was done, my MILs looked at me. You lied to me at Thanksgiving and Christmas. Yes. You let me make a fool of myself in front of the whole family. Yes. You were playing a game with me, weren't you? Yes. Yes, I was, and I won. Are you going to start treating us like adults? Yes. Good, then we won't have to go through this again. It's been another 6 years and things have been much better since then. So you're married now. Congratulations. Your family is you and your wife. You chose each other. Your decisions are yours, not anyone else's. Talk about it with your wife and decide how to act before the problems present themselves. Stand up, not for you, but for your family. Empower your wife to do the same. Story 10. This will probably get buried, but some advice from one girl with a crazy mom to another. Cut her off. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, she's family, but she's making you both miserable. There is absolutely no reason good enough to not cut off all contact with crazy mom. My mother is insanely overbearing, controlling, and religious. She constantly pestered me over my boyfriend, did everything possible to separate us, and threw all kinds of fits. And I put up with this for 2 years. I lived the first 2 years of being in a wonderful relationship with someone I love, living in constant stress and oftentimes depression. And you know what? Who cares? Not only is your wife's mom making her miserable, she's making you miserable. And when I realized that my mom wasn't just affecting me, she was affecting us as a couple, I realized how wrong I was trying to salvage my relationship with her. If she won't do it for herself, she needs to do it for your relationship and for the man she loves. It's been only 2 months since I've cut her off, and while it wasn't easy at first, I'm actually starting to feel happy, secure, and free. I'm able to enjoy my life with my SL. So don't let this crazy woman ruin your wedding because, you know what? She won't stop there. She'll try and ruin your marriage too. Yep, cutting off a toxic family member is like spring cleaning for your mental health. Story 11. My mom seems pretty similar to your new mother-in-law, minus the religiousness. Mine doesn't even bother bringing up an omnipotent being to blame for her opinions. And she seems to hate my boyfriend. She was getting way too involved and had finally reached a fever pitch of insanity. So after one particularly bad disagreement, I finally looked her in the eye and said, "Stop trying to be the third person in this relationship. I'm an adult and my relationship does not concern you." Well, she flipped out and left the room sobbing, and I didn't answer her calls for a while. When I decided she had had enough tantrum time, I rebuilt a relationship with her and found she had taken my words to heart. Ever since then, she's been very hands-off about my relationship and now treats me like an adult. So if your mother-in-law continues to try to be controlling, your wife needs to give her mom a serious wake-up call. Either the mom has a relationship on her daughter's terms, or her daughter can simply cut the mom out of her life. With some crazy it takes an ultimatum to get them thinking straight. Make the mom see that family is a privilege, not a right. Story 12. This, sir, is the exact reason my wife and I got married and had our honeymoon in Mexico. Only my sister and uncle and their spouses showed up, perfectly fine by us. As my friends start to get married and do it near home, I felt bad for them. All the planning and griping that goes along with a modern-day marriage just angers me off. Marriage is about the two getting married and starting a life together. It's that simple. When we first announced we were getting married, her mother started with "we should do it here, you should wear this, you should invite these people," etc. My wife and I knew instantly this would not fly, so we hatched a plan knowing that we needed to get as far away as possible. Hell, we still sent invitations to family members knowing full well they couldn't afford it. Kind of like "we'd like you to come, but understand if you can't make it." So we had 12 painless days of marriage and honeymoon all rolled into one trip away from the drama. We knew full well that we had to have some kind of get-together, so we had a reception back home. Drama ensued, but since drinks were involved, we didn't care. We put together a movie slideshow of the ceremony in Mexico and displayed it on a projector at the reception. It went over better than we could have hoped for. As I look at my own son, I really do hope he does the same for his sanity's sake, though hopefully I have the money to attend. P.S. It also helps if your wife-to-be doesn't worship her mother. And well, if you like these stories and related to at least one of them, here's more for you. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. I'll catch you in that video.